This is a meeting of the planning committee on Tuesday, 1st of April at Harpenden Town Council. Do we have any apologies for absence?
So the first thing we do need to do, because of the current chairman is actually apologising, I need to do the nomination of chair. So I have any proposals for the chair? Okay, that's fine, lovely. So Councillor Fiona Gaffney will be the chair.
Thank you to do that. Do we have any apologies for absence?
We do, yes. We have two chair, one from Councillor Pip Liver, and we have yourself who will be substituting for her, and also Councillor Kirsty Wen, and we have Councillor Beth Fisher who's substituting for her.
Thank you. And do we have any declarations of interest relating to items on this agenda? If you're not aware of them now, you can always declare them when they become obvious.
No.
Well, should we look at the minutes of the last meeting which have been circulated? Are there any comments?
I wasn't going to comment on this because obviously I wasn't here, but I have had a look through them.
We have
No.
yeah.
If everyone's happy.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't got a pen on me.
Oh, my pen's over. Those both matters actually. There we go.
It's all right. No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
I'll give that to you.
All right. You can keep paying that. It's all that. I have my pen.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
If there are no comments on the minutes, they've been signed. Chairman's report. I have no report to make. Are there any urgent items?
There are none, Chair. No.
And are there any public questions
No, none have been received, Chair.
or letters of objection?
No, none of those either.
Very good. Well, we'll start on page 9 then. And would you like to go through them, Heather?
I can indeed, yes. So application 2057, application 0265, they do not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee, as does 0034. And then moving on to application 2076 for number 1, Timbers Court.
Thank you.
If I can draw your attention to the if I can draw your attention just to the little slides that have been presented to you in front of you, but I will also, just for the purpose of the recording, put up the screen. It's just on the screen here. Right, so number 1, Timbers Court. This is a resubmission following refusal of an application to extend the property on the grounds of overwhelming bulk and massing and a dramatic change to the property's original form. This application is for less bulk and massing at first floor level by removing the rear element and the side at 2-storey level, reducing the depth that the extension projects. Relevant background information is that the property is at the end of a row of houses with the long garden, stairways, residential home to the side, and the hammerhead turning area and public grassed area to the front. The proposal is now to erect a reduced mass 2-storey side extension over the footprint of the existing carport and rear opening storage, and increasing rearwards from the boundary with the garden of stairways, wrapping round the rear to partial 2-storey and partial single-storey level, although much reduced from the refused scheme. There is no longer a rear 2-storey extension, and there does not appear to be any detrimental impact on number 2 Timbers Court due to the proposed extensions being on the opposite side. Just the ground floor extension that extends beyond to their boundary. There is a good sized driveway which appears to accommodate at least 3 cars off street, not conservation area, and no tree works are proposed. And I have said consider no objections subject to the previous reasons for refusal being addressed.
Comments from everyone or anyone? I would say that as the footprint is the same as it is now, it's not a very much, it's not a great, a large extension beyond the boundary.
No, so it's they have reduced it dramatically. I
Yeah.
think the sort of looking at the history and the reasons why the district council refused it was due to its overwhelming bulk and inappropriate roof form with the proposed extension combined with the
Yeah.
loss of the dwelling's original feature. So yes, they have.
Yeah.
If you sort of look at the refused and the proposed application from the front, it has reduced dramatically along the boundary.
Oh, yes.
And then the footprint to the rear, you can see, although I tried to sort of squeeze it onto one, there is a dramatic reduction in the projection rearwards
Yes.
as well.
I have actually been in that house. I went to see it when it was on the market.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I've canvassed there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice plot and it's a nice development and make it, because we were looking at it when we were looking to move out and we were doing work and I went to look at it and, it's an easy build. We've not gone over the top with it. It's a nice plot, so they've got the space
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, is everyone happy with
Yeah.
this one then? But we're saying no objection.
Okay.
As Heather proposes, subject to the previous reasons for refusal being addressed. So Heather, if you can.
Okay,
Continue.
moving on to application 0204, that does not meet the criteria for consideration, as does 0314, 0330, 0334, and 0319, which moves us on to application 0076, which is for number 4A Salisbury Avenue. Okay, proposal is to demolish the existing 4-bedroom house and garage and to replace with a new 5-bedroom dwelling on 3 floors with an integral store with attic bedroom accommodation and retaining the existing crossover and majority of the front landscaping. The existing property sits on a spacious footprint with a forward projecting detached garage. Proposed new dwelling will be set forward from the existing house building line by approximately 3 metres, but partially over the footprint of the existing garage and more in line with the neighbouring houses. To the left side of the plot is an access drive to number 6 Salisbury Avenue, which is set back behind the line of street scene properties. Therefore, the drive reduces the impact on number 8 Salisbury Avenue. Number 4 is a bungalow set on a large footprint with a 1 metre gap to the boundary with the application site. The new property will be positioned on a similar size building line to the existing, but only at ground floor level. Approximately a 6 metre gap is retained between the neighbouring property and the first floor element of the new property. The rear 45-degree visibility zone for number 4 is not impacted due to the property just being single storey at that point. The roof form is hipped on both sides, therefore reducing the dominance on the street scene. The ridgeline is approximately 600 millimetres higher than the existing, but does not appear overly dominant. The house will be built with light grey brickwork with a slate roof and dark grey aluminium windows, as used at number 16 Townsend Lane, which is currently under construction. There is parking for 3 cars off street. There are no trees to be removed from the garden. Property is in the conservation area, but is not locally listed, nor other properties either side. There is actually no objection online from Highways, which is always very useful to see. And I've said consider no objections subject to the proposal being deemed an acceptable addition to the street scene and appropriate to the Harpenden Conservation Area, policy ESD2 of the neighbourhood plan, and policy 69, 70 and 85 for the district plan affairs.
Thank you.
Second image does show very clearly, doesn't it, that it's set. It's not as big as the house next door. You described that really clearly there when you're talking about the front of the property. And the second picture does really show that. So you can see how they'd both look side by side.
The important thing to note though is number 4 is the bungalow. So
Yeah.
although the footprint is much larger, it is actually much more kind of subservient in a sense to number 4A. But what they have tried to do, which I think this image does here sort of quite clearly show, is that because of there is a bungalow to the right hand side, they've put the garage to that side, which means that it's creating a much less of a dominant effect on the bungalow. And with the hipped-in ridge line as well, they're trying to attempt to draw the bulk and massing away, bearing in mind that actually the existing house is already a house, you know, a two-story property, and the roof line is only 600 millimetres higher. So it is much larger, much more dominant, but in terms of the impact on number 4, which is I think where our concern probably would lie.
And then next to it is a road, isn't it?
There is, yeah, there's an
A
access.
road or an access road?
So it is an access road, but it's quite a wide road.
Yes.
It's a proper tarmac track that goes down to number 6 Salisbury Avenue.
Okay.
So automatically there is that natural divide as well towards number
Yeah.
8.
And we're not aware of any, well, we haven't received any objections.
And there aren't any online either as of today.
Right.
I checked.
Well, any thoughts from anyone?
I think just an extra riff on that garage.
Would you?
Yeah. Just so it wasn't a flat roof. But
Yeah.
I was just aesthetically, I would have just done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It would just look nicer, wouldn't it?
it would. It would just look like it flowed better. And
It's
it wouldn't.
funny actually not to do that when you're spending so much money.
Yeah.
Because flat roofs as well are a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. And if that ends up leaking, you know, it's joined onto the building. I think they're trying their best not to upset the neighbour clearly, but I
Yeah.
think, you know,
But even so, just a
even if they continue to roof down, it would mean better for them.
interesting.
Yeah. But I think it's a nicer looking property than the one that's there.
Yeah. So in that sense,
There
it
is
would
reference,
contribute
isn't there,
to
to
the
our-
conservation area then. Well, are we happy to go ahead with no objection? As Heather proposes, subject to the proposal being deemed an acceptable addition to the street scene and appropriate, the conservation area. So everyone happy with that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Lovely, thank you. Okay, which moves us on to application 0124, which is for 87 Overstone Road. A property is located at the end of a turning area in the road, with properties taking on a fan-like positioning with large rear gardens. The bulk of the works are to the side of number 85 Overstone Road, which is set a good distance away. Proposal is looking to extend the side to 2-storey level, partially over the footprint of the existing garage, and further forward to relocate the garage and reconfigure the accommodation to the rear. At first floor, the extension covers a reduced footprint to the ground floor and provides an ensuite, wardrobe and enclosed balcony. Due to the positioning of the property, there should be no overlooking of surrounding properties from the balcony. Small additions, stroke changes to the existing furniture and porch are also proposed. Proposals appear to cause no detrimental impact on number 85. There were no additional bedrooms added, just en suites and wardrobes to some of the bedrooms. There's parking off-street for at least 2 cars and an integral garage. The area is not conservation area, and I have said consider no objection.
Thank you.
And there's been nothing from neighbours.
Yeah, nothing at all, no.
Well, if everyone's happy, I think we could approve that one. Consider no objection.
85 extends out quite a bit anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you, I mean, this is quite a good image to show that number
Yes.
85 is actually set kind of sort of slightly really at right angles to number 87. So
Yeah.
they've got the flat roof garage that's there and the very dense hedging tree line between.
Probably cut that.
Probably
hedge
will
edge
to an
back.
extent, but it's in terms of impact on 85. There's no good to it, no good at all.
Neighbour might be glad to get rid of it. I just discovered my neighbour is quite glad to get rid of my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said I'll put in whatever they want.
It's massive, that hedge, isn't it? You can see on this one with the glass house.
Yeah, it's all
Like a London, isn't it? Yeah.
I think based on because I generally take these images here from Rightmove. So this house was actually occupied, I believe, by an older resident beforehand.
Yes, I agree. Look, that is
the tree line, might not have been maintained.
Yeah.
So you reckon, so just bring that back, because everything underneath that will just be brown, won't it?
Yes.
Very pretty when it's
But
done.
against that, you've got no light going in there, so, and it's.
It's actually on the garage.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Well, if everyone's happy, we'll say no objection.
Okay, lovely, thank you.
Well, Heather, we'll move on to the next one.
Okay, so application 0238 doesn't fulfil the criteria for consideration, which moves us on to application 0332 at number 16 Arden Grove. Proposal is to extend a ground floor level to both sides of the property and partially to the rear on one side to expand the ground floor accommodation. There is internal reconfiguration at first floor level only. There are also changes to the openings of the property, but are not to the detriment of the amenity of the neighbouring properties. The changes are in keeping with the host dwelling and are constructed in matching materials. There is additional parking proposed to total 4 parking spaces when including the existing garage. Property is in the conservation area, but it's not locally listed. And actually, interestingly, there are letters of support online from residents in Arden Grove for the application, which is obviously very promising to have. Which leads me on to recommending that no objection, subject to the proposal being deemed acceptable to the street scene and appropriate to the Harpenden Conservation Area. Policy ESG2 of the neighbourhood plan and policy 69, 70 and 85 of the district plan refers.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's quite a historical or sort of a kind of a characterful, dwelling in Arden Grove. And I think what they're
Yes.
proposing to do to it are very sympathetic and in keeping.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's very important, isn't it? Because it is in the conservation area.
very much.
And I know that neighbours in Arden Grove are very concerned about that. There was some development they were objecting to because the roof tiles weren't going to match. and things like
I
that.
went and spoke to them and then they were using the wrong tiles, weren't they?
That's right.
And yeah, they'd really upset. And then the whole place was like a building site. It was just probably
Yeah.
the worst building site I think I've ever
Really?
seen.
Yeah.
Do we have like a blacklist for builders? We really should do.
I think, well, we don't employ the builders, so
No.
we can't.
They're very sneaky as well, because they tend to just go bust and then
Yeah.
reappear in a new name and a new form.
Yeah. But what this builder does is they'd actually thrown them all off the roof. So they were landing in the driveway in front, so they were smashing. So they couldn't put those particular tiles back on because they just broke them all.
Yeah.
So maybe that's their way of getting away with
Yeah.
it.
How very sad,
Yeah.
isn't it? Well, let's hope it won't be like that with this one.
No.
So,
Nice.
everyone happy with this one? Yeah, 16 Arden Grove?
Yep.
Yeah.
We say no objection.
Yes. Okay, and then that leads us on to application 0335 and 0337. Both applications do not fulfil the criteria for consideration by the committee. Now, I did email out to you all today to advise that there is an additional application that has been requested for consideration by the committee, because I've received communication from some residents who were quite concerned about this application, which is at Harpenden Golf Club. We did have this on our list for the last meeting on the 11th of March. However, at that stage, we've not received any communication from residents explaining their concerns, hence why we had it down as didn't meet the criteria for consideration. However, I have agreed that, subject to the committee being in agreement, that we would consider it this evening. So if you're happy to do that, then I'll lead you through the.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay,
I'm
for
sure
that.
everyone's happy.
Yeah. Okay, so this is for an application at Harpenden Golf Club, which is the remodelling of the golf course with the creation of a new practice area. Proposal is for some remodelling of the existing golf course, which is a tee relocation, proposed lagoons, fairway realignment, proposed water feature stroke wetland, amended bunker formation and new putting green in front of the clubhouse. But the largest addition is of a new practice area on part of the golf club site that is currently not used for golf to the left-hand side of the clubhouse towards the existing 14th tee. The area's boundary is bordered by gardens of properties in Oakhurst Avenue. The practice area will consist of a new short game academy, range tee and a bunker academy. These new additions could cause a detrimental impact on the amenity of the neighbouring properties who have currently not had any golf activity so close to their boundary and limited impact from the golf club's existing offering. The site sits in the Metropolitan Greenbelt. However, the precedence of development in this area has already been set by the existing golf course, and in principle, the use of Greenbelt land for outdoor activities is generally deemed as acceptable. No additional structures are planned as part of this proposal. There is planned tree removal, which is mitigated by additional planting being added across the site, and the biodiversity net gain target is also being met. Letters of objection have been logged with the LPA from residents in close proximity to the driving range tees and the short game academy. Their concerns include impact on their visual and noise amenity, possible injury from wayward golf balls, insufficient space for the proposed developments, length of hours of permitted use, and the possible use of lighting. So actually, you can hopefully just about see on here, it doesn't actually particularly help that we've got that grey strip across the top, but the blue arrows do highlight the two properties who are quite concerned. And then the next image that I've got, I think, actually no, probably doesn't help actually, the following on images. So the range tees are essentially next to the white, sort of the white bunker that's just there, and then the short course golf sort of academy is to the left of that white bunker that's just marked there. So they're quite concerned in relation to really those two particular sites. Did I show you one? Maybe I didn't. Oh, here we go. Yes, this is it here. So this is looking at it from sort of the equivalent of the residence properties. You can see the new grey range tee to the left and the short game site to the right. So it's really ultimately these two elements that the residents are quite concerned with for those particular reasons that I highlighted there. So on the basis of that, I recommended no objections subject to the relevant conditions placed on the permission to limit any detrimental impact on the neighbouring properties and those in close proximity. Policy SI4 of the neighbourhood plan and policies 91 and 96 of the district plan affairs.
Yes, I think we'll hope that the planning authority makes quite stringent conditions
You'd hope so,
about
yeah.
hours of lighting, hours of use, this sort of thing, so that the amenity of the neighbours is not affected too greatly.
Well, that was one of the problems they had with Elliswick, wasn't it? The lighting and
Yes.
the hours that they were
Yes.
going to use it.
That was called in, I think, and went
Yeah.
to the development management.
So-
Yes, in the end, it was approved.
There is no lighting that's been has been recorded as part of the application. It's just the residents have highlighted that as a potential concern.
Yeah.
That should that be an addition that's added at a later stage potentially, but there is no lighting that's added as part of this application.
Right, so it's not planned
No.
at the moment.
No.
But they're worried that there is going to be a problem with the lighting.
And they're worried about golf balls. I can
Mm-hmm.
understand that.
Well, I've been knocked out by one before. No, about four. So I don't play golf.
Well, it's a legitimate and a current concern, isn't it? A lot
Yeah.
of money is being spent by the district council recently on restructuring or redesigning one of their holes.
Yes,
In
yeah.
order to avoid a property. And I think having a practice area where people are genuinely not then going to necessarily be very good or competent, you know, practicing various things or deliberately perhaps even hitting balls one way or another, you know, if they're practicing certain things. I can see why these residents have the concerns that they have. The lights, obviously not at the moment, the noise definitely, because golfers do get up early, don't they?
Yeah, 6 o'clock, something like that.
So I can see, you know, and it is noisy.
Yeah.
Especially, well, it depends on the machinery and things like that, that they're going to have to load the golf balls.
And the winter's.
I mean, the buckets, like the noise that the machines make to dispense buckets and things. I mean, I don't know. I do see why they are concerned.
It's a very
Yeah.
difficult one.
Well, we have the option
You have-
to express.
Absolutely,
concern, don't we?
absolutely, yeah.
I think we need to express concern with the comments you've made, and I think the lighting issue should definitely come into play as well, because it did with Elliswick, and they had to limit the hours in which. they
That's
were
right.
using it.
That's right.
Just having a look at the policies that Heather's mentioned, and I'm wondering whether, you know, if they go far enough, that they were sort of sending it with those concerns, so that's about. About this.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
so-
It's not sort of health and safety.
No.
Concern.
No. I mean, in essence, really, the district council one is probably, it's got a little bit more control under the policy, whereas the neighbourhood plan is more in favour of supporting sort of kind of sporting activity as opposed to actually the control of it.
Which house is working planning? Is it the one with the swimming pool, the one?
So it's the ones, so if you just look up on there, Jane, you can probably see, so the swimming pool, I think, is above the blue arrow on the left.
Right, okay.
So it's the properties to the right of that.
Right, okay.
But so there's a tennis court. Just over the hedge of the right of the bunker that we've been talking about.
Yeah, so
Which house does that one belong to?
Down the lane.
That's not a Spurs Club, is it?
no, so
That's the house.
that belongs to one of these houses along here, so I must belong to that one there. So the residents that are concerned is this house here and that house there.
Yeah.
So we've got the driving range here and then there's the short courses here. So in theory, the balls will be this way.
Going that way, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there is potential. I mean, there's like a putting green, I think that's included down here. So there is potential for, you know, wayward balls, but in theory, the driving range will be driving this way
Yes.
along. And then the short course is like a little sort of kind of area that's just here.
Could the short course be for more beginner people?
I think it's for potentially, I think it's for honing your skills.
Yeah.
Just live up in the picture.
Yeah.
So the noise is at their end, but the balls are flying away from them. So the noise
yeah,
is
so noise
actually.
quite an issue then.
Yeah. It's not as if it's a tennis ball, which is a bit softer.
Yes.
You know, when that metal hits that hard ball, it's loud.
Well.
Which
Vicky,
came
what do you
first?
think?
Goals or-
Oh, as far as like from what everybody's been saying, we haven't really got a reason to stop it though, have we?
Well, you would just express concern.
Yeah.
Do that and then decisions made by the
Want to
plan.
go as far as.
Yeah, you see, I think you've got to have a sort of a reason. I mean, like we did with those houses last time, which were.
And the neighbours are worried about the lighting, which.
So I think the lighting, I've included that sort of listed down because that's what they had included in their concerns, but there is no mention of lighting. I mean, we probably can't, we can put something in there to say that should lighting be included
They'd
in the
have to get
future, that
planning
should be.
lighting, wouldn't they?
Well, yes, in
Yes.
theory, yeah, I mean, yes, because it's conservation area, so absolutely, yeah. But I don't believe that there's lighting in any other areas on the golf club apart from around the clubhouse itself. There isn't any information about the projected opening times of any of this, which I assume would probably come under lighting.
So same, it'll be same as the golf courses now, won't it?
I would assume so.
Yeah, it's first light till dusk, isn't it?
And the pitch and putt area, the balls could be going in any direction there. I mean, the house behind it, is that listed? Eric Morecambe's house?
No. Oh, I say no, let me just double check, I'll be absolutely sure. I'm not sure that it is. Because it's done on character rather than who lived there.
Oh, no, but it's a definitely character full house.
Looks, it's Redbourne Lane. No, so only 1, 2, 4 and 6 and Timbers on Redbourne Lane is. And Oakhurst, there aren't any in Oakhurst.
Oh, I'm surprised it was.
The Redbourne is much further down towards the 1081
Yeah.
direction. Redbourne Lane.
You got, I can't find the policies 91 and 96 that you refer to, I'm sorry.
The variance district plan.
Yeah, I'm just on there, I'm just trying to find it.
So 91 relates to location of leisure facilities. page is that, please? So, 139.
I wouldn't like it if it was at the bottom of my garden,
No.
and it didn't exist when these people have bought their houses.
I'd be concerned about noise, actually.
Yeah, the noise and then the
Mm.
potential for lighting, because if you've got a driving range, you
Mm.
need lighting, Pitching Park, it potentially will require lighting. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy. And then, you know, some people, they do go to bed at like 9 o'clock, you know?
That's going in the background.
Right on cue.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do have those reservations.
Well, could you suggest something?
Yes, I mean, I can. So I mean, we can go much stronger and obviously say express concern. And then, you know, ultimately you can say in terms of kind of loss of amenity, potential for noise nuisance, and also the potential for future lighting proposals. I mean, we can say that it's, you know, an unacceptable form of expansion. Contrary to policies, probably 91, 96.
Well, is it contrary?
Do you mind if I just have a look at those policies?
Oh,
'Cause
of
there's the document that I'm looking at, I'm afraid, jumps from 90 to 90A and then it
But it's
goes
quite unusual. Yeah, because
10.
I'm
Thank you.
familiar with that policy because I
It's
haven't.
very, yeah, exactly, very frequently
Oh,
used.
all right. So yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the same thing, right, okay. Not normally be permitted unless acceptable. Efficient access, parking, environmental impact and safety. So it is one of the concerns.
Yes, yeah, environmental impact and safety, yeah.
Following criteria for according to intensity of use. See, I mean, it would be well used, won't it? That's why they want to invest in it. I mean, we've got a great facility, isn't it? Intensity use.
That lake exists at the moment, no?
No, that's being added on. It's the new lagoon.
Oh, why can't they put the lagoon over there and just switch it around? Then they're going on to Oakfield, aren't they?
I have a feeling that the lagoon might be being used in terms of sort of a flood mitigation.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. Because they're having to do quite a lot of excavation works to be able to achieve this. They're moving all the spoil within the site. They're not looking to move any off.
Yeah.
So I think potentially they're creating these additional features with the spoil.
Yeah, I think with our environmental issues, the same, you know, I wouldn't be happy. And that's not because I've been knocked out with a golf ball.
I don't have any problem with golfers.
Thank you.
Beth,
That's
you
helpful, yeah.
think-
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So do we feel that it is contrary to policies 91 and 96? Essentially it is.
I don't have environmental issues.
Yeah.
I do.
Safety, yeah.
96 relates to medium intensity leisure uses in the green belt.
Yeah, golf
Golf
courses.
courses is mentioned on.
Yeah,
That's
these
fine.
should respect existing landform, landscape and habitats. Provision should be made for new planting. Safe routes should be created.
I am, however, very impressed at the amount of money they can actually invest into this golf course.
Yeah.
Considering the one in St Albans, just saying. You know,
What's it closing?
the one in St Albans, they're relocating a golf hole and it's in excess of £100,000, isn't it?
I think there's been a
175.
plan for it for years, hasn't there,
Yeah.
to do that?
Yeah, but they can afford to do it, so why can't they?
Because of affecting the neighbours.
I think
It's
that's a new
unsafe.
property, so I'm not sure that it has been planned for a while. It's a relatively new property, I think.
Which one?
The
St Albans,
the one that's affected, yeah.
so the property came after the golf club.
Possibly, possibly. I haven't looked into it. I'm taking someone at their word, which isn't necessarily always helpful.
Well, Heather,
Yes, I mean, I think I've
better.
sort of, I think, well,
You've got the gist.
I've cobbled something sort of very quickly together, but I've certainly got the gist.
Yeah,
Of sort of the
So
approach that
we
we want to
express-
take and the tone.
very good.
Yeah.
So we expressed concern and you've got the gist of
I have,
on
yeah.
things. Yes, thank you. So there are a few decisions here. Is there anything you want
There are.
to say about that?
Yes.
Or-
So generally, I do just update the committee very quickly on the town council stance on these. So the one for number 20 Park Hill is a planning application or actually appeal decision that was dismissed, but the town council actually had no objection to this particular
Yeah.
application. So it is disappointing, but I can understand the reasons why the inspector was opposed to it. The application was kind of for a much more modern, sort of more contemporary style extensions and builds to the property, and it is very different to the others which are in the close proximity. So I can understand why that was dismissed. And then we have a application, or sorry, an appeal that's been lodged to the Secretary of State, which is for an application that actually has been rumbling for a number of years. It was issued back in 2022, which is for development at the rear of the fire and ambulance brigade stations, they still like to call it, just here in Leighton Road, which was for the addition of two detached dwellings. So we actually recommended refusal for that application due to sort of flood concerns, because that particular area there is has flooding issues, and I know that the property which is directly next door to it still continues to have flood issues, and even though they've got flood defences that they've put in place. Also a loss of views into Waphamsted Park, incompatible with the grade 2 listed building which is adjacent to it, impact on the street scene, and also the loss of trees. So in terms of the district council, obviously refused it, they've gone to appeal, so this will be an interesting one for us to keep a bit of an eye on.
It will be.
And then Tree Works is literally one, which I don't think is of any real note, honesty. Then just very quickly, I'd like to draw attention to, there weren't anything of any real note in the weekly list of decisions from the district council. They all seem to be relatively standard, but despite us, we don't actually consider the applications that are listed under the technical applications, but I did just want to draw the committee's attention to an application which is for a screening opinion for the erection of up to 100 dwellings onto land to the south of Green Acres on the Lowling Road, which this is essentially another bite of the north-east Harpenden development. So this is the land which is, as you can just sort of see up on here.
That was all part of it.
Yeah.
It's not another lump.
No,
It's all
So-
part of it.
we've been,
Sorry, I'm so
Page
sorry.
30.
it's not actually, so it's, yeah, it's on page 30.
There's the photo of it.
Well, it's not, yeah, it's, I think
But it's not an extra field that they're,
No,
it's all part of it that they had on the whole, I can't remember the whole.
correct, yeah. So there's a grand master plan in a sense that covers the whole of what they call the North East Harpenden application site. However, there are a series of developers and interested parties that own or have interest in certain pockets of land. So we've been looking at the much larger area, which is for Crest Nicholson. So we've already been
Yeah.
kind of, discussing and kind of are much more aware of what's proposed there. Was this now is for another interested party who is coming forward with their view, I suppose, or the seeking of a view from the district council for the site to be developed for dwellings. So this is the next step on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll obviously we'll watch with interest, to see what they're actually wanting to do on that.
Yes, but they haven't contacted the town council
They haven't, no.
and you wouldn't contact them.
Potentially once there's an application, maybe yes.
Yeah.
Carl is aware of it, he's aware of this particular
Mhm.
screening opinion, but potentially, yes. I'll have to sort of kind of check with him, because the town council sort of kind of are interested in sites like this when there is areas that potentially would interest the town council in taking on. So depending on what they're wanting to include, a part of it. So if it includes any sort of open spaces or any sort of kind of parkland or community facilities, then of course we as a town council would be interested. But if it is just a standard residential area with sort of normal verges and things, then potentially not.
Looks like it's got a lake there though.
Well, I was noticing that.
They might be like a sort of what they call attenuation, don't they? Or these kind of, or suds, these kind of, yeah,
Drainage.
for drainage because of
That whole area floods like that.
Exactly.
yeah. So
Because you've got the river and the water meadows on the other side.
but yeah, so potentially town council would be interested, but it just depends what they're looking to include as part of the development.
And so is it just for the people that live in the properties that are adjacent to this parcel of land to make themselves aware of these sorts of things? Or would anyone put them on notice that this is potentially going to happen? Because you,
If they made an application,
Yes,
then they would all receive, they should receive notification from the planning authority.
on paper, so something
Yeah.
through there.
through the letterbox, yeah. And there'd be signage as well, you know, sort of the
Yeah.
bright green signs would go up in the vicinity. But this is purely what they call a technical application, which is the developer is expressing their intent. This is what we'd like to do. We're potentially looking to erect 100 dwellings. How do you, as the local planning authority, feel about that? It's the first step. Ultimately, Crest Nicholson would have done the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's useful to be aware of these things. Once an application is submitted, then that's potentially where residents will start getting animated and want to find out what's going on. It's just useful to have awareness.
Yes.
My children used to ride there, and I think the reason they did close down the pop-up was because they wanted to develop all the standards. Sadly.
Yeah. Okay,
Anything more?
no, I don't think so. That kind of concludes the,
Date of next meeting then?
yes, it's Tuesday, the 22nd of April. And then the next District Council Development Management Committee meeting is on the 7th of April.
I'm not here on the 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, those will be around.
I'm not sure. I'm in Singapore, so it is cutting notes. Might be.
I can register your apologies, but I will need to have ideally a sub, because at the moment we're down to 4 committee
I'll ask
members. So see if Ernest is able to. Okay, lovely. So meeting closed at 8:18. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone.
Yeah. You can these and I will remove them.